Well, I bet some of you seen this one coming. To be honest, I have been very vocal about my opinion on Vince McMahon, so finally getting to say my 2 cents on McMahon is going to be very refreshing. So, today, I'm going to finally let it all off my chest. I'm finally going to talk about Vince McMahon and talk about my problems with him. So, folks, buckle up because this is a pretty personal video. Because, unless you're like a diehard wrestling fan who's into my channel, I don't think many people will be into this one, but I'm going to finally address my complaints with Vince McMahon today. Because a lot of people do want me to say what I thought of Vince currently, and time for me to address my problems with Vince McMahon currently, right now. So, let's talk about it, because I've been stalling enough, because I know this is going to be a very deep video, because they're Vince marks, and the Vince fanboys are really crazy, so I'm probably going to turn off the comments just because of that alone. So, yeah, let's do the video. Now, before I want to go to the negative, I do want to talk about the positive. No, I don't think Vince was always bad. I mean, let's be honest, if it wasn't for Vince, WWE would not exist. Not only WWE, but pro wrestling would never exist and explode, which means a lot of us really wouldn't be fans of pro wrestling. So we gotta thank him for that. And not only that, but he's the reason behind some of the greatest moments, such as the Hulkamania era, the Attitude era, the Ruthless Aggression era, and, like, legitimately, he did a lot of great stuff during the years. And to be honest, I'd say I'd say that the last time WWE was really good with Vince was 2016. And by that point, Vince should have just retired. He accomplished as much as he did. He booked as much as he did. He booked good stuff. And he actually had some pretty decent ideas. He was kind of getting to that point where he's getting a little bit out of touch, but he was ready to retire. But however, he stayed for 2017. And oh boy. Oh boy. So, let's talk about how 2017 started off. Royal Rumble 2017. Roman Reigns is the number 30 entrant despite being in a Universal title match. Like, legitimately. Oh, don't worry, it gets worse. He eliminates The Undertaker from the Rumble. And you expect to cheer this man after he eliminated an all-time favorite. Everyone likes The Undertaker. Yet Roman Reigns eliminates him, and you assume you're supposed to like him now. Another thing, Brock Lesnar. Okay, I like Brock Lesnar. I'll be honest. I don't hate him. It's just, he gets the Universal title and puts a stranglehold on it, and holds it for the entirety of 2017, through the rest of it, all the way through a majority of 2018. Only having it, like, for no 3 months. Like, that was the only time he was without that belt. And even then, he was with it for most of that year. And for a small portion of 2019, like half the year, he had the belt. And not only that, but Jinder Mahal. Jinder Mahal was booked to win a world title. And look at the ratings. This dude was legitimately dragging them down to a pretty bad spot. Like, legitimately, they should have booked someone else. Why not book someone like, geez, I don't know, Kevin Owens, someone who has more charisma, better in the ring, better on the mic, and someone who's an actual draw. Or if you don't want to book Owens, if you want to book a different star to get the belt, then why not give it to someone else like Rusev or Baron Corbin? Like I stated, like Owens, they have more charisma, better in the ring, better in the mic. They're better at everything than Jinder Mahal. And let's not get started on 2018. WrestleMania 34 sucked. Like, straight up, this Mania was awful. Trash Mania. Like, the main event had to be one of the worst picks. Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar. Literally? Now, I know what people are going to be like, oh, it's a big money match. You need that big money to get the big rating. I get that. But you had a matchup that could have drawn as much, if not more money. John Cena versus The Undertaker could have drawn much more money as a main event tier match. I know, it was a squash, granted, but that matchup definitely could have drawn more money. It definitely would have been a bigger star tier match for main event of Mania over a match where two people basically kept fighting and no one wanted to see it. With Cena and Taker, everyone wanted to see that at WrestleMania, but at this point, you're going to force Roman versus Brock is Mania. Okay, whatever. But it gets worse. Let's not forget Sami Zayn and Bobby Lashley, the sister storyline. It's just a bunch of dudes in drag. Need I say more? Okay, let's talk about Braun Strowman. He's someone who's super over with the fans. They're giving him a top tier push. They're giving him all this cool stuff. He seems like a good star, right? Nope, they just bury him. Yeah, someone who could have definitely been the top babyface of that time, who fans were actually behind, not Roman Reigns. Unlike Roman, Strowman was an actual star that people wanted to be pushed, and he gets buried. Okay, let's bring Daniel Bryan back. Everyone loves Daniel Bryan. Alright, let's see how he starts. Okay, he's in a tag match. It's him and Shane versus Owens and Sammy. Not a strong comeback, but like, it's whatever. It told a decent story, whatever. What's next? He starts a feud with Big Cass, and Big Cass hates him because Big Cass is tall and Daniel Bryan is small. That's a very childish reason to hate him, but okay, whatever. They had some fine matches, whatever. Next, he had a very underwhelming reunion with Kane for Team Hell No. And let's just be honest, Kane's final time in the company before retiring was very underwhelming. They gave him that feud with The Miz, which honestly had good build, because if you remember that whole Talking Smack thing, that was a really cool segment. But, no, we get their ending. We end the series with Bryan beating Miz in 2 minutes and then roll up. Not an actual blood feud with an actual great ending where Bryan somehow beats The Miz in a decent match, finally getting his big moment. No, he just rolls him up and steals a pin. Of course. But to be fair, I will give Bryan he was able to salvage it by having that pretty good match with Brock Lesnar. And the whole Planet Champion thing was actually a pretty fun run. So we'll give Bryan this. He did a great job with that stuff, so he was able to at least end 2018 with an actual good ending. But let's not forget about Crown Jewel. Oh boy, this one. Well, we get Brock versus Braun, the burial of Braun, which was supposed to be a triple threat, but Roman Reigns had to pull up because of leukemia. I mean, understandable causes. Leukemia, that's a very unpreventable thing. You really can't avoid that, so you could honestly make that's a fair argument, and I can understand that. We got a tournament, King of the Ring kind of thing, but instead it's to prove who the best in the world is. And no, Punk was not an option. And these are some top stars. We got Lashley, Angle, Rollins, Miz, Ziggler, Mysterio, those kind of guys. Those guys can be considered best in the world. I could see that. But who do they give it to? Shane McMahon. Of course, Shane McMahon. Because Shane McMahon is an MMA god. Because he loves to believe that. What else happened on the show? They brought Hulk Hogan back despite Hulk Hogan being a very, very, very mean person to people's skin colors. And then we just bring back 4 old men to have a match to ruin their legacy. Triple H got injured some part in the match, like in the beginning half of the match, he tore his pec. And also, let's not forget the fact that Kane lost his mask somewhere in the middle of the match on accident, when Michaels accidentally pulled it off. These guys were far from their prime, and it was cruel to watch this. It wasn't fun. It was so sad. But hey, let's not talk about one last thing. Let's not forget Dean Ambrose's final run with the company. Don't forget the time he got a shot right in the behind. He had to get his little vaccine. He made a bunch of jokes about Roman Reigns having leukemia, despite Roman Reigns being his best friend and Ambrose actually being uncomfortable with it. He had a very mid-match with Seth Rollins. It honestly wasn't as bad as most people say it was, but it still wasn't really that good of a match. It could have been better. They brought back the Shield, because at this point you need the Shield to come back for more money, more drawing power. And, Ambrose's final run in the company, he was treated like a joke with an awful heel run. Okay, now let's go to 2019. We're going through WrestleMania 35, which definitely was a better WrestleMania than last year. It was actually kind of fun, though it was really long, but it was pretty fun. And then we got Rollins winning the Universal title. Nice moment. He's a good star. He definitely carried 2018 during its rough times. So, what can he do this year? Well, he has his first match with AJ Styles. Strong start off the bat. We're getting a strong start. He then feuds with Baron Corbin. Okay, now I don't hate Corbin like most people. I actually kind of do like Corbin, but this was around the time they gave Corbin that very boring gimmick, and not only that, but the feud was just not really that good. Honestly, they could have definitely booked that better. Uh, let's see, what else did he do? He started becoming a real hypocrite, making fun of Will Ospreay for being an indie wrestler and not making much money, even though Rollins was an indie wrestler, used to be an indie wrestler and used to not make a lot of money. So in other words, he started calling Will Ospreay a peasant. He got back his Universal title at SummerSlam after Brock Lesnar cashed in on him at Extreme Rules. Yeah, Brock won the Money in the Bank for no reason, even though we had young stars like Drew McIntyre in the match who definitely could have benefited from a Money in the Bank win more than Brock ever would have. We then book him against The Fiend. Now, if you don't know who The Fiend is, he was created by Bray Wyatt, may he rest in peace, who was one of the most creative guys in the WWE. He came up with this impossible gimmick, like this indestructible monster, this kind of, what was it, a freaking split personality thing? I don't know. It's, I'm trying to think of the name, but he had the idea as this indestructible monster while he had this whole Mr. Rogers thing, and he was set to fight Seth Rollins in the Hell in a Cell. This was a pretty big match, and you don't know how they end the match? Seth Rollins hits The Fiend in the head with a small little hammer, and the match ends. Even though The Fiend used a giant hammer in the matchup, yet the match doesn't end. What? You kill the Hell in a Cell, you bury The Fiend, you make Seth Rollins look like a heel, despite you wanted to book him as the top babyface at that time. Seriously, it dumbfounds me, the booking on that thing. It just, why? Just why? And it doesn't really even help that they had that awful red lighting in the matchup, which was also really stupid and really ruined it. And don't worry, Fiend Bray Wyatt gets his big world title win. And then he loses to Goldberg. A man who's in his, mid-late 50s, who had no reason to win a world title at that point. What? Explain that logic to me, please. Why an old man like Goldberg needed to win? Apparently, he said he wanted to win. He used backstage power. Goldberg says he doesn't. I don't know. There's a lot of story. I really can't for say sure who's in the right and who's in the wrong at this point. Now, at this point, I realistically could go on and on about these kind of stuff. Kofi Kingston's awful world title run, the Lana Bobby Lashley storyline, the Retribution storyline, the time that Goldberg and Undertaker almost killed each other in the middle of a match. I could honestly go on and on and on about these stuff. But, the jizz. Vince McMahon really lost his touch. But there are people who don't blame Vince for this. Now, who do these people blame? Triple H and Stephanie McMahon take the blame. Okay, so why do they blame Triple H and Stephanie McMahon? Well, I'll tell you why. Now, the Vince fanboys like to claim that Vince McMahon didn't hire the writers. That was actually Triple H and Stephanie McMahon. Those are the people hiring the writers. Those were the people who were booking those shows, etc., etc. But I will say one thing. There is no evidence to prove that Triple H nor Stephanie McMahon even booked those shows, let alone hired those writers, let alone no evidence to show that. And not only that, but Vince McMahon gets the final say. Triple H and Stephanie McMahon never hired the writers. They didn't do any of that stuff. But let's just say, for the sake of argument, let's have fun. Let's say Triple H and Stephanie McMahon are the bad guys. Let's say they're the reincarnation of Satan. They hired these writers. They're the one who wouldn't book all this goofy stuff. Vince McMahon, he's a good boy. He would never book this awful storytelling. He wants to book good stuff. Okay. Vince McMahon would have just fired them a long time ago. No joke. Vince McMahon would have handed them the pink slip if he realized how terrible they were, that booking, if Triple H and Stephanie McMahon were really booking these awful shows, he would have fired them. And before you say stuff like, oh, he loves them, he would never fire his own daughter and her own son-in-law. Well, remember, after Royal Rumble 2022, guess who got fired? That's right, Shane McMahon got fired. Vince McMahon's own son was fired for booking an awful Rumble. So if Triple H and Stephanie McMahon were booking weekly awful TV shows with garbage storytelling, with stuff that the fans hate, then wouldn't Vince McMahon just fire them a while back? Wouldn't he have just terminated them? But that's just assuming the fact that they would have done it. There's no evidence to show they would have. So in other words, all your evidence falls down when you realize that there's no evidence to show that they ever did hire those writers. And not only that, but there's also evidence to show that Vince McMahon would have fired people if they were doing terrible storytelling. And then let's not forget Vince McMahon, finally at the age of 77, got to retire. Alright, so let's see it. Vince McMahon, finally, after all these years, we're going to finally watch the terrible product Triple H and Stephanie McMahon push. We're going to watch more awful jokes, more terrible storylines, more cringe, terrible matches, nothing the fans would want to see. We're going to see that, right? Nope, quite the opposite. Triple H and Stephanie McMahon actually understood what the fans wanted. We got actual compelling storylines. We got the Bloodline storyline, which was honestly really good for the most part. And the character building lately has been really good. We've seen Sami Zayn go from this comedic jobber joke guy, and now he's actually presented himself as a top star, as he's actually rebelled to Roman Reigns. We see Dominic Mysterio go from this babyface, bland guy that no one likes, to being an actual character. We see guys who are super cool and charismatic, like Logan Paul. And even though I hate Logan Paul, I've addressed this in some of my videos, I cannot stand Logan Paul. Even I gotta admit, the guy has a great gimmick. The dude knows how to work. He's great in the ring. He's great on the mic. He's definitely the whole package. Now, I'm going to be honest, I don't think Triple H is a perfect booker. I do feel like he has his flaws. For example, the women's division isn't really that good. Not all WWE matchups need to be a fight forever match. We could have some matches here and there that are short. And I do kind of feel like some guys that I do like Cross, do really kind of get it. They're kind of done dirty, like Cross. I do kind of feel like they could have done them better. But honestly, looking at it, Triple H booked pretty decent shows. And then Vince McMahon came back, because of course he did. And you know what happens when he came back? That's right, Triple H was knocked off the board. And you know what the first thing Vince did when he came back? He brought back Nia Jax and made her a top star. The same Nia Jax used to injure people. You know, at this point, I quit. I legitimately am on the verge of quitting WWE. Like, I am fingertips away from quitting WWE at this point. Like, I think hair strains are like skin in my teeth levels of actually getting out of the product. It's honestly just been this bad lately. Like, no joke, I am going to leave the ship before it starts to sink. I'm going to jump the sinking ship before the sinking fully begins. If you guys want to watch the product, sure. If you guys do like Vince McMahon, sure. If you guys want to assume that I'm a fat neck-bearded Mark who lives in my mother's basement, sure, why not? To be honest, I don't see if this video getting as much backlash as the Stone Ocean hate video. To be fair, I think there are more Vince fans than Triple H fans. Well, I mean, I think there are. I'm not 100% sure. But legitimately at this point, I'm just going to say where my 2 cents are. Triple H is just a better booker. And if I'm being honest, if I were TKO, or anyone for that matter who would have owned the WWE, I would have definitely given Triple H the head of creative and got Vince McMahon far away from head of creative. So I hope you enjoyed the video. And that was my problems with Vince McMahon. I kind of had to address my problems because really, they had to be said. He's killing the product. Someone's got to call him out for it. And I'm going to have to be the one to do it. What my consequences for the future will be, I can't say for sure. For all I know, I may have to lock these comments because I could get death threats. For all we know, everyone may love it. They may be like, "Holy crap, this guy, he's he's so good." He's like, people may actually subscribe to my channel because I'm a Vince hater. But at this point, I just want to say it. Just get out, Vince. Get out. You're killing the product, please, Vince. Just you're out of touch. You don't know what the fans want. Triple H at least knows what the fans want. You could give him that. I don't care how much you hate Triple H. I don't care if you believe he's the true man. I don't care if you believe he was the one who caused 9/11 or he caused the Holocaust. I don't care what you think of Triple H. But you can admit, he at least knows more what fans want than Vince ever would. And I'm going to leave you off like that. Triple H knows more than what Vince knows. He knows more about the fans. He has more heart toward the fans than Vince ever did. Vince used to care about the fans, but now at this point, it honestly feels like he's just in it for himself.